Greetings folks, we're at Temple 30, 31, 30. Yeah, I think it's Temple 30. Sorry about the audio clipping with the wind, but I've had to delete a lot of videos because of wind. So I'm just going to leave them in from now on, and if they clip, apologies. Now, the next topic is the Jhanas. In Sanskrit they spell it with the dy, and in Pali JH. Don't know what the correct pronunciation is, but it's basically the 8 states of mind. Now, when you're tuning into the moving from vital to astral in the first transformation, you move through the first 2 jhanas. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on it. I've done other videos on the jhanic states, but it's just more of an introduction. When you go into the 3rd and 4th jhana, they're more mental states and astral states. And then the last 4 are formless akashic states, working with infinite space, infinite consciousness, state of nothingness, and either perception or non-perception. So when you're working with akasha, you can use it as a type of guideline into what you're working with and what state you're in. The infinity quality that Hermetics prioritizes, when you're releasing time to move through the astral, releasing space to move in the mental, there's a type of stillness which arises through that process, especially when you transform. It's like you move through akasha to move between vital astral, between astral mental, and then you fully move into the akashic state when you open the crown chakra up. And that infinity quality really dominates that experience. So the infinity quality is a state of mind where there's no edges to your consciousness, and the physical body reaction to akasha is different for each person. Some people get a drunkenness, some people get a nausea reaction. Some people just feel really, really spaced out, unable to ground themselves. There's all these different types of reactions to akasha. I found over the years I've gone through a range of different physiological responses to the akashic substance, but if I condense it physically really, really strongly, to me it feels like trying to drink a glass of honey. And the sugar reaction to it is like oh, that's really, really strong. And my physiology, my physical body reacts to the akasha with an intensity of a sugar high, like drinking honey. There's no really other description I can use of how it affects me. Now, everyone's different out there. When you work through the 4 formless jhanas from infinite space, consciousness into nothingness, nothingness is where you encounter what I call little capsules of karma, where from past incarnations you have these places of karma, and then you re-experience your own karma. And this re-experiencing of your own karma can be extremely traumatic or really, really blissful, depending what that karma is. For many years, in the early years of practice, when I was working with the letter U in Kabbalah as a door through akasha, I was experiencing a lot of trauma, a lot of the bad things of past incarnations, and it was quite horrific. And after a few years, it eased off, but it was been a part of a decade of working with that. Many of my students have only had really blissful, positive responses from dealing with past karma. Everyone's unique, everyone's different situation. Where I wanted to push forward much more quickly, I just invited it up to the surface and dealt with it. And you're basically returning your karma to God. You return the energy back to source, back to the sun, and you surrender it back from whence it came, through the creative cycle, through akasha, back into the light mind of the universal mind. And by interacting with it in that way, it was being metabolized, and it wasn't affecting me with the akasha work after a period of time. So the formless jhanas are the most interesting ones and the most least talked about. I was very fortunate when I was learning hermetics from my teacher William Quick Edwards that Akashic transmission and filling the room with Akasha was a standard part of his teaching. Working with non-dual light, you'd saturate the room with that light and you get sucked into it. So it was very, very normal to have those experiences. And I didn't know until much later that that's not what all meditation schools do. I just presumed it was. So when I went to other schools, there were guided imagination exercises, not energy transmissions. So I felt very fortunate and very blessed to have those experiences with my teacher. When you are working with anyone who's done Akasha and they saturate the room with Akasha, you'll very, very quickly get a sense of that reaction. If you remember the reaction and you remember the guided meditation, how to release time, slow everything down, how to release space, feather off the edges of your consciousness and enter into that infinity quality, just repeat the process the teacher gave you and your unconscious mind will remember it, and those same sensations arise and you go beyond them and move through them. So this process of moving through Akasha in this way gives you nice. Got to do a figure eight and then finish coming out. I can do that. All right, so we'll just go through this good luck. It feels like I'm going through a portal. Gotta love the Japanese. All right, so when you're working with Akasha, you're going to find that it's not something you can pin down, it's not something you can cleanly label, not something you can intellectually understand or grasp, but it definitely is something that you can pin down how to practice. The techniques on releasing time, to go into the four formless jhanas, the techniques on releasing space, the technique on paying attention to the inherent emptiness underneath everything, the infinity qualities, and then identifying with the infinity quality that you recognize I am infinite, and then that oneness with infinity. Wow, that magic routine actually works. This is really interesting. If you're visiting Temple 30, definitely do this spiral walk. All right, so I'm not going to go into the main temple because I'm still talking and I don't want to disrupt other people. So we'll just shoot off to the side.